Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Horizon Watch podcast series. I am Vipul Oberoi, your host for this podcast series. The world is evolving rapidly. There are newer challenges which are knocking at the door. Change, even though positive, can bring with it uncertainty, a fear of the unknown, a fear of change, a fear of risk. While the world has faced COVID-19 pandemic, it was a global storm that exposed vulnerabilities that we never knew existed. It wasn't the first, and it certainly won't be the last. A pressing concern still remains. The next big disruption is just a horizon away. Newer critical challenges are already knocking at the door. They can quickly ripple outwards, impacting not just businesses and their profits, but also the lives of the very people that power the engine of these businesses: the employees, the vendors, the supplier partners, and the consumers. The Horizon Watch podcast series aims to explore these emerging risks and empower its listeners with actionable strategies to navigate the emerging risk landscape effectively. Today, our guest is an industry expert with more than 35 years of experience in the insurance industry. We are fortunate to have Mr. Sushant Sareen, President Commercial Lines and Reinsurance at Tata AIG General Insurance Company Limited. Welcome, Sushant.
Thank you, Vipul, for having me here.
Sushant, you have an experience of more than 3 decades, and you have seen all the ups and downs in the industry. You have seen the cycles. You have probably seen it all, what has happened in India and globally. You might be seeing that there are some traditional risks that organizations are facing, but there are some new emerging risks also. What do you think? Why do you think this shift is happening?
So, around the time when I joined the industry, in 1987, VUCA was a concept envisioned by the US Army War College. It is an apt description of the times we live in now, 35 years from when it was coined. Two drivers are increasing the volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity in our lives. The first is interplay of global developments that are happening around the same time, that are impacting each other, and therefore are leading to outcomes that are very difficult to anticipate. And the second driver is the speed at which these outcomes are manifesting. So the interplay is creating more complexity, and the speed is leaving little time for people to understand and address the consequences.
So we are truly in a VUCA environment?
We are truly in a VUCA environment more than ever before.
So with this interplay and the speed you're talking about, can you illustrate it with an example?
Let's just take the last 3-4 years. In 2020, we've had the outbreak of a global pandemic. In 21, we've had a slowdown of world economies. And in 22, we've had a major geopolitical crisis, which is the Russia-Ukraine war. In 23, we are still reeling with the after effects of that crisis in terms of persistently high inflation and high interest rates to tame the inflation. While each of these has struck us, our businesses, our lives, and our livelihoods individually, it is really the meshing of these global developments which has impacted us more deeply.
That's a very interesting perspective, Sushant, on interplay and speed. Can you help us understand more on this in detail?
So let's just look at the last few years. The COVID outbreak happened in 2019. It halted global economic growth right through 2020. In 2021, authorities of all nations got together and pumped in money and purchasing power into their economies to revive the growth. In 22, when the growth started reviving and central bankers raised interest rates to rebalance money supply and to tame inflation, the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. and it sent fuel and food prices skyrocketing. Right through 2023, that inflation has not yet been tamed. In 2024 now, which is the record-breaking year for elections across the world, 50 countries and over 2 billion people will vote in the backdrop of economic headwinds. So you can expect protectionism, we can expect populist policies, and we can expect jingoistic politicians bringing in even more uncertainty to what we've already seen and gone through.
Sure, and not just domestic, but also in the global trade as well. We really don't know what the policies would be.
Absolutely. And it will play out. So we are just at the beginning of 24, and as every country goes through elections and different governments come to power, we'll see how uncertainty manifests itself. And what we are talking of are only the most visible disruptions that all of us have weathered. There are very powerful global changes that are interplaying alongside. For instance, climate change, the proliferation of cyber risk, and now the very rapid evolution of AI. So it's a complex maze that we are now having to deal with in our everyday lives, whether as businesses or as individuals.
So Sushant, you have spoken about the VUCA environment, and you have also spoken about emerging risks like geopolitical risk, technology risk. You have spoken about risk emerging from the pandemic and also climate risk. So there are these emerging risks and the VUCA environment. Why do you think it is important to understand the emerging risks right now?
Everyone will agree that progress must trump chaos. Leaders and businesses who deal with this, VUCA world will thrive. Those who don't will be unsettled. Good leaders will deal with this by keeping their feet firmly on the ground, by opening their minds to the changes that are unfolding in the environment. They will do this by being curious rather than wanting certainty. They will do this by developing foresight, the ability to see how what is looming in the horizon can impact them, that foresight, by being adaptable and by being able to adapt with agility and speed. And finally, by consciously acknowledging threats and taking actions to mitigate them, even as they pursue opportunity. That's the way forward.
And of course, being a leader is what Tata AIG has demonstrated in the past 2 decades. It's one of the most admired companies. It has demonstrated traditional values along with a forward-thinking modern approach. So was that also the reason why you embarked on this journey of understanding emerging risks more?
We are a joint venture of 2 global leaders, the Tata Group and the American International Group. We embody the trust of Tatas and the insurance excellence of AIG. Our client's business is to create value, and our business is to protect the value that they create. And to do this, we use the decades of insight that we get from AIG to scan the horizon, look for emerging trends, and within that, risks that are looming, and study the impact that those risks can have on our clients' businesses, and use that insight to co-create effective risk management solutions that secure the interests of our clients and their aspirations for growth and leadership. In fact, it is our mission statement to create better tomorrows for our clients by delivering innovative risk solutions and providing peace of mind.
Peace of mind, like as the song goes, Dil dhoondta hai fir wahi fursat ke raat din. That's all what we want.
Absolutely, so right. And one thing that I think has happened is that even as people are, looking for peace of mind, the awareness of new risks and the impact that these risks can have has really gone up. And there are 2 ways to have peace of mind. One is to be a little ignorant of what is happening around, which is not a good way to, have peace of mind, because that is short-lived. But the other is also to be aware of what is happening and proactively dealing with it. So with risk having now become center stage after COVID-19, we believe that this is the best time for us to spread more awareness about emerging risks and best practices to deal with them amongst the client community.
Definitely, and I think every organization should have that sense of responsibility and urgency to protect value.
I agree. I so agree with you there.
And I think it is this sense of responsibility which has led to the creation of this knowledge sharing initiative called the Horizon Watch series. Can you throw more light on this?
Vipul, the International Risk Governance Council defines an emerging risk as a new risk or a familiar risk, but in an unfamiliar or new context. Tata AIG understands risks deeply, and we know the impact that these risks can have on businesses, lives, and livelihoods. Historically, we've helped our clients to manage traditional and emerging risks. Since there is interplay of a lot of developments which is creating complexity, and the speed of complexity manifesting itself, the consequences manifesting has gone up, this is the right time to embark on, with renewed vigor, creating awareness for what are emerging risks and how to best deal with them. The Horizon Watch series will deliver research insights on emerging risks. There will be industry-specific bulletins so that industry leaders can relate to those emerging risks in the context of their own industries and therefore be able to manage them better because you are able to relate with it. There will be podcasts on best enterprise risk management practices to adopt. The season finale will be a conclave on emerging risks where industry leaders and experts will share their advice on how best to deal with these risks.
That's so great to hear, Sushant. It's a great lineup of knowledge sharing initiatives under the Horizon Watch series, and I think the industry would greatly benefit with the understanding of emerging risks in this VUCA environment. Thank you, Sushant, for being here, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Pleasure having you.